What is the most $1 has ever gotten you? Did you know Dollar Tree carries condoms? To answer your question, a son. My brother was behind a woman buying a pregnancy test at the 99C only store and she turned around and told him never to buy condoms there. The cheap pregnancy tests are actually perfectly fine though. I've always fallen into the line of thought that something as sacred as pregnancy should always require buying name brand. If this is true, you just saved me and my girlfriend money for drinks. Cheers. Mayabjin says the Dollar Tree pregnancy tests are great. I used them and got a positive when I was definitely pregnant. I used multiple in fact because I bought so many. All positive. I spent $10 too much in fact on too many tests because they're so cheap. Did you line them up and do the sprinkler or something? Last time I did a pregnancy test at home, I peed in a paper cup and dunked the end of the tester in it. Much easier than peeing on the stick. Yeah, but if the cup is pregnant it might taint the results. No, you need to use urine. The taint won't provide results. Have you tried Dollar Tree taint swabs? They work as good as the name brand. Bought an interesting looking silk blouse at a pay-by-weight Goodwill outlet. 99 cents per pound, so was less than $1, technically, since it weighed mere ounces. Hashtag X200B, turned out to be rare vintage Versace. Sold it for around $700. Nice, a hell of a come up. I'm huntin'. When I was 16 my aunt and uncle wanted to give me an old hand-me-down car that both my cousins used when they first got their licenses, but because of tax purposes, it made more sense to sell the car to me. I bought my first car for $1. A wife. I signed up for a river tour in a foreign country. It cost me an extra $1 to ride in the first boat leaving, didn't want other boats in the way of my photos. Met someone on that boat who later introduced me to her cousin. Been married 8 years. Lucky. The wife I bought for $1 went back to Russia with my entire Beanie Baby collection last week. Edit. Thank you kind strangers. Dude, you only paid $1 to get rid of a Beanie Baby collection. You made off pretty good. Those babies were gonna be worth millions someday. Just like my holographic Charizard. I bought a cookie for $1 at a bake sale, didn't really want it later on. Gave it to a lady I worked with, she loved me for it. I was her favorite after that. That lady was my asshole of a boss. Best dollar ever. Once bought a beer for €1. Turns out you get a raffle ticket with each drink. Long story short, I won a surfboard. What did you do with her surfboard? Trade it for beer. Stonks. I was working retail and one of the old ladies who used to come in and look at the TVs in my department while they waited for it to be time for the bus back to their independent living facility came over all faint. She asked if I had anything sweet she could have. I got a Coke from the drinks machine in the break room and she drank it slowly, holding onto my arm. My manager had called her an ambulance and they loaded her up and took her away. Diabetic. The EMT said the Coke was just the thing for her and slapped me on the back. I still remember her little wave as she left. She lived. I didn't save her life or anything, but that $1 made the difference between her getting into the ambulance conscious and with dignity, versus unconscious and sick. She said later when I visited her at the hospital that she might have had to move from independent to assisted living without it. So that was a good $1. Best soda I never drank. This is amazing. You say you didn't save her life, but who knows, you could have done. If she'd have slipped into a diabetic coma or something, Teresa chance they might not have been able to get her back. Well done you. You should be mega proud of yourself. You could even go as far as to say they saved her quality of life. The differences between independent living and assisted living facilities vary greatly. Some people may not realize how big this is for older people, but it is. Agreed. Quality of life is everything. I found a huge book at this hole-in-the-wall thrift store. It basically diagrams and explains everything about how an automobile works, but it was printed in the early 80s, so pretty out of date. However, it still taught me quite a bit and I'm essentially invulnerable against mechanics trying to duck me. The knowledge was worth way more than $1. Edit. Trying to find it so I can disclose the correct title. Title is Automotive Principles and Service, published by Reston Publishing Company Incorporated, 1980. Okay, I give, it's fixed. It's not outdated if you buy a car from the early 80s, hell you'd even be able to maintain it yourself. Better break out the spools of vacuum hose. I changed the head gasket of a 94 Toyota 4Runner. So many hoses. This is actual footage of me working on it. TLDR, a wife, 3 beautiful children, and frankly my life as I know it. Story time. Back in junior high, I liked a girl and flirted with her quite a bit. One time, during a band trip, we stopped at a gas station and she bought me a pack of gum. I tried to pay her back $1 but she refused. So, I slipped the $1 in her pocket. She then slipped the dollar in my backpack, and so began the back and forth with the $1 bill. We found silly ways to give it back and forth. I mailed it to her house. She stuffed it in a gum wrapper and offered me a piece. I then decided that I would ask her out on this $1. I wrote, "Will you go out with me?" on it and put it in a note and gave it to her. She said yes, of course, it would be a terrible story otherwise, I suppose. About 4 years later, I still had the same dollar kept away. On our anniversary, I wrote, "Will you marry me?" on the bottom of the dollar. We have been married for 15 years and have 3 awesome kids. We still have that dollar stored away. Picture of the dollar for those curious. Update 12,172,020. I logged in today to find this has gone a little viral. A year later. Thank you all for your kind words. A few days after this original post, we both decided to frame the $1. Here is the picture of the case. I read it. This is the best story on this thread. Agree. Could be the basis for a cute movie script. The lovely bill. A friendship. NBSP, to clarify, I live in Europe and we actually don't have dollars here. When I came back from New York I had some dollars left and had them in my wallet still for a long time, even when I forget about them from time to time. Once I was talking to a girl I met and started talking about America. She had never been there and I remembered that I had a dollar in my wallet. I gave it to her and she was really happy. Still talking to her to this day, only a bit less than we used to, but safe to say I can call her a friend of mine. $1 for a friendship is definitely worth it. When I was in high school I lived near a grocery store that sold packs of 10 cookies for $1. On the few occasions I had $1 to spare, my parents were very reluctant to give me money unless it was for school. My favorite thing to do was go there after school sports practice, buy a pack, and eat them on the swings at the nearby playground. A couple years ago, I was back home for the holidays and decided to recreate the tradition for old time's sake. To remember a simpler time in my life. At this point, I was late in college with a steady job. Thus, I could easily afford to spend $1. I went to the same store, bought the same type I always did, located the same swing in the same park I always sat on, and prepared for a nostalgia overload. And let me tell you, the cookies were terrible. If you have the means, treat yourself better than 10-cent cookies. Edit, thank you for the gold, kind stranger. This is the precise reason why I won't recreate my middle school weekends. A $5 giant can of Monster, $4 2-pound box of mini brownies, followed by hyperactive nausea while biking on hiking trails. Living that pure Kyle life. A full evening's entertainment. I'd bet my friend $1 he wouldn't break into our university's football stadium. He did. But he did so right in front of a security guard, who then proceeded to chase him around, flashlight waving the whole time, in full view of the rest of us outside a fence. This chase went on for probably 5 minutes, through the stands and across the field. My buddy came flying out a different fence, but ripped his pants open in the process, sharp top to the chain link. So he was then running down the street away from a frustrated security guard while giving said guard the full moon, if unintentionally. Anyways, that led to getting beers while watching cop cars drive around the neighborhood slowly, I can only assume looking for a guy with no ass to his pants. Totally worth $1. You can't buy entertainment that fun for 10 times the price. I bought a McDonald's burger for this homeless guy near my old job. The guy was grateful, so he taught me how to make origami cranes and we became friends. Fast forward follow up, he got back on his feet and now has a nice apartment and a really annoying, yappy dog. Teaches craft classes at a local community center. He teaches crafts, that is. His dog doesn't teach, that'd be silly. That'd be awesome.